Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of, Teddy.
We can't stop snapping. Huge episode for you guys. Some major shakeups in the content creator space that are coming out. We're at the ending of a previous season. Going to be sharing our recaps. What was the secret sauce that we found? And then looking ahead, all the rankings of the hot new Eternals cards. Maybe the movie sucked, but the season can be good. Rad. Remember, dear friend of the show, Drew Barry and the Berryverse. They are expanding the Berryverse. So we're very happy for him. Moving on to some other opportunities, some other passions. But a sad time for those of us who remain. You can see the thumbnail that looks quite different from all the others. Did he quit Snap? Yep, he did.
Yeah, so we have two big creators. One, not so much of a surprise, I suppose. The other one, a bit more of a surprise. And that one is Drew Barry leaving. And saying that he's done with Marvel Snap. And in that video, he does even say, hey, I know you guys might be asking, like, is this like a temporary thing? Like, do you going to take like a few months break and then come back? And he said, I do not envision myself ever returning to Marvel Snap. So
right.
I guess never say never, but in his mind at the moment, he has no intention of ever coming back. So
I mean, that's the thing is it's in the content creator world, you never say never. People will throw like the stupidest comments of like games for me to like, oh, you should try this out. That's like been 5 years old and has a dead community, but I'd love to see you play it. I'm like, I might do that. So for him to, say that it is this indefinite hiatus, I really don't expect to see him back anytime soon. And he's also had such a stalwart like franchise of videos about ranking cards that don't require too much time investment or too much gameplay to back them up, but he's also discontinuing this series of talking about that and the upcoming cards. His passion right now is Marvel Rivals, but he's going to leave it open to anything else that comes and catches his fancy. So all the power to him on chasing what he's interested in and letting that, because I think that's what drew a lot of people to Drew, is how genuine and excited he was about ranking cards, the card art, the community supporting that. And because he just truly wasn't feeling it for Snap at the moment, he felt like he couldn't be kind of lying through that video tone. And so he wanted to do stuff that he really felt that passion for.
Yeah. And he was kind enough to even like shout out some of his favorite creators. Both you and I were mentioned in that, Teddy. So that was incredibly nice of him. And yeah, like I love Drew. He's phenomenal. He was the first creator I watched with Marvel Snap when he had like under 500 subs or whatever.
Yeah.
So seeing him grow to where he's at with 20k subs, which frankly has also dipped down a little bit. I think he just lost like 2,000 subs from after this why I quit Marvel Snap thing, because he was at like 22.5 or whatever.
Point blank, it's not the money. It's not that Rivals bought him. It's that he's tracing the passion project.
Yeah, and like right now, that's what it is Marvel Rivals, and like
right.
They're coming out with the closed beta in a month or so. Actually, next month it'd be in July, and once they announce how you can sign up for it, I know I definitely will be signing up for it, especially because it's also on Xbox and PS4, and I would like to be able to just play on my console. That's what I wanted. I was hoping Rivals would have a console release. We now know that they are, and that's going to be an avenue for me to play way more. Because really, we'll see how they do with optimization for PC, but it was rough for a lot of people with like $3,000, $4,000 rigs.
Yeah, my rig is not near that. And when I got it, and now it's aging, so we'll see where I sit on being able to get in and really make content for it, because there's some stuff where like I can run games, but then the content is always just going to look kind of second hand or second class. So I definitely want to play it. We'll see where we land on that for Team Teddy.
That's what I'm going to do is I'm going to invest in a, because right now when I do stream a little bit from my Xbox, because I like to play like Siege and stuff like that, and I don't really like to play mouse and keyboard for a lot of stuff.
Here we go, guys. This is how the cheese is made.
Yeah, I will stream like through the console. They've built in like streaming. You can just like link your Twitch account and stream from there. Have a webcam that's plugged into it to do that. But I'm gonna probably just to get an Elgato capture card, and just still use OBS and like capture my Xbox and stream that way. That way I can still have my scenes and stuff like that through my my computer.
Yeah, so
and
for anybody who
not
doesn't
use
know
the
the
native.
lingo, that means the Xbox runs the game and only the game, and then the PC takes the video from the game and runs the stream by integrating that video, but doesn't have to do anything else itself.
Right. So it be nice, and that way I can stream Rivals through that avenue and make better streaming content and stuff like that. Maybe you could do the same thing, Teddy.
Yeah, I am real bad at shooters. So obviously like being good at a game doesn't mean that you can't make good content for it. It'll be fun to see where we land on this. I know you are actually good, like really good at shooters. But slightly you're not
I do
you
love
don't
shooters. Yeah.
do you call Rainbow Six Siege a hero shooter?
Not really. It's
Not yeah, not really.
it's close though. Like I mean,
Right. It is
it's
like right in the middle ground because you have operators with very specific kits, but then
mhm.
the tactical combat is just a whole different beast. But then you also have destructible environments with Rivals has. I love everything about that so far that I've seen about Rivals. I think they're on to a really good formula.
Yeah. I like the third person thing too, because like every hero shooter comes out post Overwatch is just like FPS, 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 and it's like
Yeah.
I want a little bit of a break from it. I like my FPSs. I love Siege, like I said, but and I enjoy Call of Duty on occasion, though it's kind of going away from what I want. I started playing a little bit of Hell Let Loose is a
Okay.
really
Yeah.
interesting one. Uh, that one's I think it's fun, but good God, is it such a different pace? It
Did
is.
you get on Helldivers?
Uh, don't have a PlayStation.
Uh
Yeah.
Gotcha.
If
Well,
it
we don't
if
have
it
to
came to
touch we
Xbox,
don't have to touch that, I guess.
I would try it. Like it looks fun, but also Helldivers looks like that kind of game where I just be like bored with it.
Really?
It's the same thing over and over again. Like it's just like,
Yeah, but it's a galactic war.
yeah, I
You have
get
to
that.
save Super Earth and democracy, my man. There we
I
go. That's
I like competitive stuff.
yeah,
PVE stuff is fun. That's what Helldivers is.
yeah.
But in my heart of hearts, I am a Spike when it comes to my games. I love competitive playing like card games, and I love competitive shooters. I like I like it when my heart rate hits like 130 when I'm trying to clutch a 1v2 or whatever and like Rainbow
Okay.
Six and shit. Like
Yeah.
I like that. That's what gets me going. I like that kind of stuff. I want to feel like I'm gonna die.
Yeah, so that's where Drew's looking for that different environment. He with the video revealed that he'd actually taken a hiatus from Snap for a little while leading up to this announcement. Like he gave himself a break. He'd been hitting burnout before, which was what he specifically called out. And then after the break was kind of, that was his chance to see, do I want to come back to Snap and is it going to like rekindle, or does the break kind of solidify that, yeah, I want to play something else, put my time into something else. And so that's the direction that he went.
Yeah, and I look forward to seeing his content for that. Um,
Same.
but and he did state burnout was a big thing for it.
Yeah,
Really, like he was
Snap
just
can
burned out.
be relentless because the seasons are 1 month. There's a new card every single week. It means that on the one hand, you're getting this steady drip of content, but then over the course of the amount of time that we've been playing Snap and like heavily into Snap and the balance changes, constantly churning things, it can be tough to be on that long. Whereas other games with longer development cycles and like bigger patches of like larger content drops, you
Yep.
get that spike of interest when you drop a bunch of cards and then people feel things out, energy peters out till the next update and then it spikes again. But where Snap is just like every single week, sometimes twice a week,
And
depending on when the OTA drops,
yep, yep.
is big Snap news.
So we'll touch on the burnout aspect of it in a moment, but I want to at least mention the other thing as well.
Yeah,
Mogwai is also leaving Snap
for
again.
the second time.
Yep. So says that he's gonna make a video on it, but basically the whole thing is the game is not sustainable for him in the long run. Deck building is too limiting. I hit the same wall as I did last year, he says, and he's going back to MTG, which
Yeah,
is where I first was exposed to him years ago. Was he was an MTG content creator with
right.
Arena and stuff like that, and yeah, look, I get it. Like it's not a burnout thing. It's just like a
Yeah,
you have
so
12 cards in a deck. I get it.
Right. Mogwai's the kind of person who's the diehard tryhard. He's going to be able to grind any game for as long as it's interesting to him. And he kind of hit like he bottomed out on Snap, allowing his creative decks like or not giving him enough of deck nuance. I will
Right.
say that yeah, the one-dimensional metas in Snap, every time it's been not Loki. Loki was the only meta that I was okay with it being that way. It does get pretty tiring. And right now, honestly, Renslayer, Renslayer X Cannonball, like I'm ready for that to go. So I can see where it
Yeah.
gets tough in Snap when you have like these off meta decks or even something new that you're coming up with that's just not able to cut it. That can be very frustrating.
And I myself have been taking a break from Snap since about last week. I'm probably going to take another week off for this week for streaming and stuff like that. I'll get the new cards, I'll get the season pass, but I won't really do any content on it or really play on my own time. Um, so yeah, like I can agree with both Mogwai and Drewberry. I'm really burnt out on the game at the moment. I still like the game. I still like talking about it and stuff. That's why I'm
Yeah.
here. But for me, it's a burnout combination of that with what Mogwai's saying. It's really limiting because not actually the deck building, though I think that's true. Um, it's just there's one way to play. That's it. Like, yeah, there's ladder and conquest, but it's like you hit infinite on ladder and you think of like, oh, I can just mess around with different things. And it's like, well, what am I messing around with? I'm changing 3 cards from a meta list and like seeing if that those 3 cards really work. Or I'm playing old lists that like were favorable in previous metas and seeing if I could bring them into this meta. Or I'm just playing a bad deck and losing a lot. And that's not really enjoyable for me at the moment, so I need a break. Now, if we get new modes like we're supposed to this year, which we're halfway through the year, Teddy, and we still haven't got a new mode yet. Why are they
Oh
waiting so
baby,
long?
Brad, you saw this right? That they're doing the big IGN announcement.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. We're gonna touch on that in a second here. For me personally, I'm this is going to sound bad in the wake of this conversation. I feel great about Snap, but I'm working a full time job. I've stepped back significantly from
mm,
content creation from where I was for the last couple months, and so
yeah,
it actually is. It's a very enjoyable outlet for me at the moment. I do my new card testing streams every Tuesday. That's a great change of pace for me. I keep up with my dailies in the meantime. I spend enough time to keep kind of my competitive ego going, and we do the podcast with you, which I love all of this. So I'm actually looking forward to doing a little more in Snap. Don't be worried, guys. We're here. If
yeah,
I can pick up the torch from Drewberry on doing some card ranking, I'm gonna try. So I'm excited, but I'm also playing other games as well. I did my Manor Lords playthrough. I'm playing Capes at the moment, which is like this XCOM superhero non-brand affiliated game. So I'm getting my fix on some other strategy games, trying to figure out what will really be next. So, but Snap is definitely going to be a part of that for the future for me.
yeah. I think the biggest thing is like the reason. Like, again, I just want more game modes, and we'll talk about that in a second.
Yes, I do too.
Um, but I'm also playing another card game right now. I'm playing Orcana because I'm doing content on that with the
Ayo.
Incast, which is and I even just got back from Atlanta last weekend for their DLC, which is just like a league championship basically.
Yep.
So I was traveling for that. I got to like meet a bunch of different creators and like meet the co-creator of the game basically. That was cool. So the reason I can do that is because there's a paper component as well as there was a digital component. Now that that's unfortunately ending.
Yeah, we were talking about
Um,
this before, but yeah, the
yeah.
physical components really cool.
Yeah, so like I think that's the thing that like makes it more sustainable for me in the long run. For the most part, because Snap is only digital and that's it. And I think there's pros and cons to that. There's something about being able to sit
What?
down in front of someone and play the game is
Yes.
nice.
No, there definitely is. That gives it a liveliness and a longevity because these communities of people that you know and those face to face like keep games alive well longer than they would be if they were digital only. Like it was that way for Keyforge. Like I made some great friends in Keyforge that I still really like their company. We since moved on to playing more disc golf because Keyforge died, but like
Yeah,
that human connection stayed on longer than even the game. Would there ever be a world where, like, if a game shop hosted a Snap night where, but you had to bring your phone and then you would just do friendly matches, but it was there across the table from other people at a game shop? Like, would you sign up basically if your local game shop did that?
And they did like an F&M type of tournament thing.
Yeah, and they had
What
like
would
prize support, and you had to
what
buy
would the
in
what would the prize support be though?
something at the game shop, like game shop credit.
Hmm.
So you couldn't use it on Snap,
I
but
I'd be vaguely interested. I think that'd be
you
kind
would.
of
Okay,
cool.
yeah.
Um, I just, I mean, look, there's a saying with Magic, which is where I came from. I guess not originally, but like for the last few years, um, it's not about the magic; it's about the gathering, right? Um, that's
God, I
always
see
been
what
a
they did
thing.
there. Wow.
I know, but it's true. Like it's like
Yes,
if it wasn't for the fact that you
it's
literally gather with people and play the game with people that
Friday
you can
Night
be friends
Magic,
with,
man. Friday
yeah,
Night
like
Magic.
that's what made the game sustainable for me. If I didn't have friends that played it, I don't think I would have kept playing it or even started in the first place, especially because Magic wasn't even an IP that I was interested in.
I
I
thought you were
don't,
gonna be like, especially because the average Magic player is insufferable, but
that's also true, but I came from Yu-Gi-Oh! And there's,
oh, that's yeah. Okay, then
that's
you
really
were like
bad.
a whole. There was like hugs and happiness everywhere in Magic compared to Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh! Has a lot of, I say this with no ill will, coming from like, someone that has a lot of friends on the spectrum and stuff like that. And I myself am, because of my ADHD diagnosis, I have to be somewhere on the spectrum. Um, there's a lot of autistic people in Yu-Gi-Oh, a lot of it, and that comes with a lack of not, I guess, self awareness and a lack of like social awareness as well, where you get like some really abrasive people, and it's to no fault of their own, but that can take a toll on you in the community when you're trying to like open packs something like that. And you have people hovering over you, be like, "I need this card, I need this card." I'm like, "Can you please?" We can do trades later. I haven't even opened the pack yet. Please let me be, kind of thing. And just like rule sharking kind of stuff in
Sure.
like the competitive nature of Yu-Gi-Oh feels
Yeah.
more like that. But like, look, all communities, in regards of Yu-Gi-Oh,
Yeah.
Magic, and everything like that, you have good and bad. I have
Right.
many people I loved in the Yu-Gi-Oh community that I love to talk with, love to play with, and stuff like that. Same thing with Magic, same thing with Snap. But at a certain point, it's good to take breaks from these games that you like, no matter how much you love them, because burnout can be an existing thing for everyone. Like it's a massive thing.
Yeah, 100%. You want to be at a place where you're able to balance things, where Snap isn't squeezing out other parts of your life, and yeah, be able to pursue other things. Also, you always want to feel free to put it down. Like,
Yeah,
yes, in Snap, you miss a drip of currency, you might miss a new card. In the grand scheme of things, I can tell you guys, it's not a big deal. Gilgamesh coming out, Battle Pass card. You take a 3 month break, he's not going to matter anymore. Whatever next card that comes out is going to be
you
the
might
fun
get
new
nerfed
thing.
into oblivion. We'll
And he
see.
might be nerfed into oblivion. That's the other thing, is that the developer's persistence with balance patch updates means that if you miss some of these cards, like, yes, you want to round them out with your collection eventually, but you should be just fine adding a substitution for a while or just playing a different list.
And real quick, I guess before we finish the wrap up, I found this old article I wrote from June. Actually, holy crap, June 1st, 2022. It's been exactly 2 years in a day. Look at
Nice.
that. Since this got published. This is when I was playing Magic. This is for playingmdg.com. They have a lot of great content. Though, unfortunately, this site is dead because it was owned partially by, what's it called? The same people that do Untapped.
Oh, okay.
Or just, yeah, that. And like there was a fall between the people that made the site and otherwise. So now they have a different site, which is, I think, thegathering.com or whatever. Doesn't matter.
Gotcha.
Anyway, all the articles are still up. This is one I wrote. I talked about mental health and burnout in Magic, which is fitting. So like this is a whole thing that I wrote a couple years ago about all that. So if you want to check it out, I'll put it in the description. It is, to this day, uh, the number one article on this site as far as reading goes and like views. It got the most traction. It got the most traffic. Um,
Well, yeah.
so
It's
To put it in
something that I think.
perspective, they had a weekly tier list that was really big that drew a lot of traffic. This had more views than any weekly tier list ever did. So
Yeah, because it's timeless. It's something that we have to combat with. I mean, more things than just your game. But that's the thing is when you pick up your game because you're burnt out somewhere else, but then you get burnt out on the game. Like you're at a wall,
right.
and figuring out where you go from there or how you manage from there is important.
And funnily enough, like the first thing I say is Magic the Gathering is, in my opinion, the greatest game to ever exist.
Do you think that's still true?
I still think that's true. I do. I don't even play the game anymore. I have fallen out of love
Wow.
with Magic pretty hard based
But
on
you
their
still
directions.
recognize it as the GOAT.
Yeah, it is the most complicated card game to ever exist. It has the most combinations of like play patterns and like cards and stuff like that, and like different formats. I still recognize it as the best game ever. And
Interesting.
I still love the game for what it is. I just don't like where it is currently. So,
Fair. Fair.
but yeah. All right, let's talk about old stuff. Oh God, I have to
Do
find
you
old stuff.
have access to your season recap? I got mine.
Ooh, I don't. I never did it. Do you have the link by chance to like pull it up?
For mine.
Well, just the link in general for season recap.
Oh, let's see here. If I copy this or share this through Discord, I can find it, or I can vamp about my list. Here we go. Got it to you.
Well, yeah,
Most played card. Do you have a guess of what mine is?
we'll send you your most played card is probably White Widow.
It is Jeff. I got you the.
Uh
I copied the link on Discord to you. I wish that it gave you like a top 5 to be able to see how close. But yeah, I played Jeff 144 times. I upgraded the hood the most time. Is like for the first time ever, this phrase has been right. The hood must be your favorite card. Aha! Because we got the new card borders update where I am able to transfer the cosmetic
just use
upgrades
my
that I get on my
password.
base art hood to the variant whenever I happen to open it. Brad, I have not opened a single hood variant. I've not even had the opportunity to purchase a hood variant since I started playing the game. It's dark times whenever I open the variant shop. At this point, I mean, my never lucky little title tags really coming through. My mascot was Craven with a win rate of 76% when he was in my deck. Look at you. We're twinning.
I assure you have way more played than I do. How much did you play it?
144.
Yeah, six. See, this. Yeah, again, I did take a break at the end of the season, so
Yep. Man Thing, we know this is actually your favorite.
I do love Man Thing.
Is that your favorite card now?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. Well, look at that. Accurate to a T so far. What's your mascot?
Oh, Sauron. Because I did push to infinite from 91 to
Ah,
100, and I just did not lose much with the deck.
you got
I steamrolled.
your bot inflation matches with this art. I don't know when I was playing
No,
Craven.
I did not see a single bot in the 90s. What you mean?
Well, from earlier, nothing.
No,
These were people.
no, Teddy, you misunderstand. I
I
did
pity
not
them.
play this deck at all until I had struggled throughout the 90s, and I just randomly switched to
That
it,
was
and
the push.
I made the final last 9
Okay.
levels with just
Oh, now I got you. I
Sauron's
got
Fury.
you. Nice. Oh, that's great.
It was insane. What was your
Yeah,
mascot again? You said Craven?
Craven for like some. I must have been testing some kind of
Silky smooth.
silky deck with the release of Nocturne,
Yeah.
and I must have done well, even though I didn't stick with it. My most effective card is Ebony Maw. I was
Ooh.
testing a little bit of Ebony Maw with a Shuri deck that had
Shadow
Squatch.
King.
Most effective card is Shadow King. Let's go.
93% win rate when playing it.
Yep.
And
I mean,
Teddy, I played a lot of Shadow King this season. Like
when
I played a
he
lot of Sarah Control.
when he actually hits the board in that Sarah Control list, he's going to make a huge difference, right?
Right.
And with the huge surge in Sage, like
Sage and the werewolf.
and Angela.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. Sage has had more staying power than Werewolf.
Yeah.
in the meta, at least
It's
until
just
now.
easier to turn on.
Yeah, very
Like
straightforward, good
you don't
power.
need her on curve is the thing. Werewolf you want on curve, and like if you draw him on 4 or 5, you can kind of get his power up a
Yeah,
decent amount. But
but final
Sage is just
turn,
like drop her, you're good.
yeah. No, I
In
think
fact,
Sage was
the
definitely
later
the
is better.
sleeper. What's that?
In fact, the later you play her, the better because you have more
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
opportunity to get her bigger.
Sage was certainly the sleeper of the season.
Yep.
I think Sasquatch did pretty well based on high expectations and then met those expectations. But
Yeah,
Sage
but
was
I do think
definitely the
Sasquatch is the most
standout.
boring.
I'm surprised that people haven't gone back to trying Blink. Once the leech trick was gone, they kind of quit on her, which I don't think is right. But
No, she's still insane.
yeah, we'll have to see what deck distills with her left. Um, and
What was
then
your
Nocturne is like fine, but
Nocturne is exactly what I said she was. The
yeah,
sneaky best card of the month simply because her floor is the highest floor of any card by far. She has the best floor.
at a 3/5.
At a 3/5 that moves and changes location. She's very simple in what she does, and she's very efficient in what she does, and like is easily overlooked. Like Jeff. Jeff is just like so consistent at what he does. I think Nocturne
Yeah.
is the same way.
Story time. I had a great Infinite Conquest run. I lost on 5, but the way I won my Infinite Conquest 4 was I was playing my Loki deck, and I hadn't had to show Legion until the very final match, and Bar with No Name showed up.
Oh,
The
that's so
opponent
good.
had Nocturne, and I was sweating bullets. Like, are they gonna do something crazy like move Nocturne? No, the fools. They move Nocturne to the other location, leave the Bar with No Name.
Wow.
Legion win the match. Ah, it's a beautiful thing. And so is Aunt May's for you, apparently. 80% win rate when that location appears. That's nuts.
I love this location. I do. And I play a lot of like again, I play a lot of lockdown, so it makes sense that this is a good location for me to be able
Yeah.
to like because like a lot of people like I've seen will wait on Aunt May's and try to use her later as opposed to earlier. And like I'll just go like, okay, play a card on it and then storm Aunt May's kind of thing.
Yeah, tempo.
Yeah. I just love this location.
My lucky location was Titan. Earlier in the season, I was playing a lot of
Blink ramp.
some decks with the higher cost bodies
Yeah.
that would be able to really utilize that. So
What percentage?
88% win rate.
Nice, nice. Titans seem to be
Wow.
very good for you.
Yeah.
Uh
Highest power. Oh, 136. I had a 145.
oh
Now, how this is not Shuri's lab for both of us, I don't understand, but all right.
yeah, I don't so it's a combination of like your highest power total while also being like is it all Sakar or is it just vary the location?
My understanding would be that this is that power at that location individually in a game.
Right, but like is everyone's Sakar and it's like the highest power you reach is Sakar this season or is it um
Oh, mine's at mini labs. So it's
oh
the highest, they take the highest power you reached in an individual location and then they tell you what that location was.
Sakar was so Sakar makes sense because I was playing the Hellfire list a lot
Yeah.
and that just has infinite but how the
Bro,
how is
I
it
had
136?
I had mini labs. You can only play there on turn 6.
Yeah, that sounds
How
like
did I get my highest power of 145 on like a
were you
final turn drop
we
on mini
had to have been
labs?
playing Tribunal, right?
I mean, it was either Tribunal, and yeah, they were all 145 and it was a tie, but they just picked the mini labs location to show off, or it was a Shuri's lab location where they shanged Shuri's lab, but then I dropped like an enormous kitty pride on, you know,
I
mini lab.
guess. I have no idea how I achieved this.
Because I didn't play Destroy. Destroy is the other one that will pop off with like just some nutty
Right.
numbers when you hit the. I did not play any Destroy this season, so
I didn't either. I played
I
pretty
don't know, mate.
consistently like just the handful of decks I did. I don't even with Infinite, that's only 20.
Yeah, overall season in retrospect, the leech was a pretty bad taste in mouth, but I would say that the tasting notes a bright start, and even though there was a bitter mid tones, the finish was kind of nice and smooth. The current meta I like, though it seems to be coalescing too much around Professor Rex Cannonball.
It's like you're reviewing like a
A
fine
wine, yeah,
scotch, yeah, or
yeah.
something, yeah. Where it's
So
like,
how did
the initial flavor was a bit overpowering, but
yeah,
once we moved on to the 1236 version of it, then I'm telling you, that
yeah,
finish was smooth.
exactly.
Yeah, the season was fine. It's probably one of the lower points of the season, but I am biased because again, this is a season that coincided with a lot of my burnout.
Right.
I don't know if anything in the season contributed to that burnout more so than just my natural, playing the game up to a certain point,
I mean, it wasn't a
reaching
leech.
that threshold.
Like if
I
you played the
didn't.
beginning and then you hit the leech change, and you're like, I don't really care about this game anymore.
I don't. It doesn't feel like Leech did anything to me.
Okay.
Like Leech was a
Okay.
little annoying for sure, but again, I play a lot of like decks that just don't care.
Yeah.
And it's just like I don't know. Like Leech was
Other
whatever.
factors.
I think Blink was too strong on release, coinciding
She
with the Leech
was. She
change.
still is.
Yep, I agree. But I don't think any of that coincided with my burnout. I just think the season overall was just kind of like meh overall for me. It was just a meh season. A lot of the cards weren't super interesting. In fact, a lot of them were kind of boring, I would actually say. I think Blink's effect is incredibly boring. Very good, but boring. I think Sasquatch is the most boring card in the entire release because it's like, yeah, you play it in bounce. I find that boring.
Okay.
I find bounce incredibly boring. Bounce is a very complicated deck, and I acknowledge that. And it has a lot of lines to it. However, the
Yeah.
line just because there's multiple lines within a deck does not mean the play pattern of the deck isn't boring to me. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Sure.
Like, because bounce still ends up just doing bounce things. It's just like understanding when you do certain things. Like, do you play the hit monkey earlier or do you hold it for turn 6 kind of thing? And like, whatever. So I find bounce to be kind of boring, and Sasquatch is mostly successful there. I did try our idea of the Moon Girl, Mockingbird,
That didn't
Sunspot
work
She
for
Hulk.
me.
Nope. Sasquatch
Yeah.
was the worst card in the list by far.
Yeah, that was not what we wanted.
Nope. I won a lot of games just by doing like double She Hulk and like
Yep.
Titania and stuff like that. That was
Not the
great.
Sasquatch.
Sasquatch just never saw play.
No.
I was like, huh, well, the deck was fun though. I had fun playing it.
Yeah.
It's just I would look at Sasquatch and be like, wow, you suck. You're really
Yeah.
bad in this
Who
list.
can I trade you for? Wait, this is a Sasquatch testing stream? Oh no.
Yeah, I'm having way more fun with this list though. And let's see, Sage was cool. Sage was the one that I was like, we talked about it in our preview of the season. I said
Yep.
I anticipate it being the worst card of the season. However, I am more than happy to admit that I will be wrong because I could easily see this card being like, oh, on paper, it seems like it's too many things working against it. But in practice, which is what happened, it just happens to hit 3-6, 3-8 pretty consistently and ends up being very good. I
Yeah.
stand by that. I'm very happy that I was wrong. I anticipated that I could be very wrong. It's a very like one or the other, no gray area with this card. And cool. That being said, not a super interesting card when you get down to it.
No, very straightforward.
And then Namora was Namora.
Yeah. We didn't really see any new archetypes rise.
Exactly. Yes.
So the meta was like different shades of the same decks, and I think that was something like we need another like big shakeup. Leech was the biggest shakeup we had, and then people hated it, so they kind of reverted it, and that was
yeah.
That's the problem with the season overall, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
look at like what decks like stayed around. So like we had the Cannibal Professor X deck from the previous season that popped up,
Yeah,
and then
that's
just
still good.
was maintained as its existence.
Yeah, or a little better with Sage, right? Yeah.
Hela is another option, right? Like that
Yeah.
just continued to exist. And then cards that could have been deck defining, like Namora, ended up just being not very good as it currently stands. I think Namora is, again, one of those cards that could get better with age. I think we need more. We need a 4-cost goblin. Teddy, we need a 4-cost goblin, just a middle ground for goblins.
Yep.
Will really help Namora, in my opinion. That way you can go Namora. I'm sorry, you can go like Ravona into goblin into goblin into goblin, and then like
Is it a 4/5 or a 4/6? Probably
I
4/5.
I think it would be a 4/5, 4-5.
Yeah.
I think would be appropriate. You have 3-3, 4-5, 5-8. I think that's a good distribution, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
Um, so yeah, I think the more just more stuff to
But then
make
the
her
curve
better.
from Renslayer into the 4-5 is like brutal. Oh, Brad's smiling. That's what'll get him back into Snap.
You're telling me
If
I
he
can
can
play
be that much of a
Celine
troll.
again? Oh
Yep.
yeah, I love that. So yeah, there was really no deck defining stuff, and that's really what kind of comes down to. Like we had no Loki, no High Evo, no man. Like I don't. What was the last? What do you think was the last card that truly made a brand new deck?
Well, Loki was after High Evo, so that's it.
Well, Loki was September though. You tell me that between September and now, we had no card that just said, "Here's a new deck, buddy."
I mean, Cannonball now, I guess.
That's just made
Cannonball
Lockdown come
decks.
back.
Yeah. But now
But
like
Lockdown
his
was a deck
name,
though.
but his name is now on the deck. I don't know.
That's because he's the newest card.
Sure.
Also, you know this as well as I do, Teddy. The Marvel Snap community is awful at naming decks.
They are.
I still stand by the She Not deck is the worst name ever. Like High
All right.
Evolutionaut was right there, buddy.
Yep.
It's perfect. It's perfect. It goes. You just call it Evolutionaut. It's literally it fits together amazingly. That should be the name of the deck, but no, they're like She Not because
Yep.
you have She Hulk in the deck, and that's like the thing.
Right.
It's like okay, that's
You
boring.
play She-Hulk and Infinite at the same time.
That's yeah. I hate that as a name.
Okay. It's a good deck though.
It's a
Now,
fantastic deck.
I will say, in five weeks, we get our next one. Arishem
go
is going to
sword.
be that card. He's going to be the most anticipated card, I think, in a long time. But I mean, so guys, if we transition to looking ahead of the coming season, we got Eternals.
Oh,
I guess I'm gonna have
we got Baron Zemo was a deck defining card. I
Mill.
know
Okay,
Mill
was
a deck
it?
defining thing. Annihilus kind of, sort of, but not really. It was a package thing.
I'll give it to Zemo. It was definitely Mill.
Yeah, definitely Zemo.
Mill is the newest archetype, newest unique archetype,
and that's an archetype people hated playing against. So there's that.
But I think it's also a little. It's been enough time to say that it's going to be. It's always going to be there, in some form or fashion.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about the new season.
Boom, Celestials, baby. Now we had a couple cards as we were reviewing this in like the pre-release of cards that Brad and I both said could not possibly be released in the states that we saw. They're being released in the states that we saw. So how do we feel about them now? We also have Arishem, who's going to be like the next big bad tier card. But as we roll up there, like, am I going to have to watch Eternals, Brad? I probably should, right?
Well, okay, so there's a rumor.
I have Disney Plus
that,
at the moment.
I mean, you can watch it. It's fine.
Sure.
I think
how many
it's
hours? Is it 3 hours?
It's a longer one, I believe. But I will say it is.
It should have been a TV
It
show.
is.
And their TV shows should have been movies, but we don't have to go into that.
I mean, look what happened to the Inhumans. I mean, speaking of which, one of the the fan accounts or whatever, was like Marvel MCU updates or whatever. They said,
Okay.
"Oh, the Inhumans are going to be back in Secret Wars." And Anson Mount, who plays Black Bolt, who I love Anson Mount because he also played the main character in Hell on Wheels. Phenomenal show. Please watch it. It is so underrated. He retweeted going like, "Oh, interesting. I could you show me the contract I must have signed in my sleep about this?" First time hearing of it.
You.
Yeah. But they used his image like on like the Inhumans because they said all the Inhumans were coming back. Also, how do you feel about the Blair Witch stylization of
this whole
update?
video was a little weird to me.
I understand
I
they're
know, but I
trying
mean,
things,
I
but like,
respect that they take swings every time, and watching Ben Brode ham it up is always funny. The Blair
but
Witch didn't
here's the
feel
problem.
thematically on points
No,
to anything
but
they were
here's my
doing.
problem with them. Like I love Ben Brode hamming up, like you say,
Yeah.
but he's giving it all, like his all for it, right?
Yep.
And no one else at second dinner comes close to, or guests that they have, like
Uh-huh.
Cozy or like Dexter that have
Yeah.
had a previous one. They never even come close to matching him.
They always have
So
them like play straight man or like I don't know. I guess they're trying to get like the contrast of Ben Brode. But listen, guys,
it
second
comes
dinner,
off a little worse.
if you ever get me on one of these videos, I will hype Ben Brode up and I'll do it. We'll both be big energy.
So yeah, first one is Gilgamesh.
That's
He's
big,
the
almost as big as energy as Gilgamesh here. This guy's a monster. So he's been changed. We initially reviewed him, I believe, as a 5/2 who would get +2 power per
yep,
card that had a buff of any kind. So that's ongoing or an on reveal addition to their power. He has now been changed to a 5/7 with a +1.
which
So
is
his
still
end,
really good.
yeah, this guy's good. You saw Kazar there, natural synergy. I think is going to be a zoo deck. A
Blue
lot of
Marvel
potential
as
there.
well.
Yeah, Blue Marvel being able to hit the whole board. They have one Psycho combo deck that's going to be the Ultron with a Patriot. I don't, and then they have Limbo, right? Because you have to play Ultron and then come back with Gilgamesh later, but then you'd only be able to play Gilgamesh on the middle lane. So this is like very contrived. I don't think this is what you want to see.
No,
Um, but that Blue Marvel in the deck with a number of other like cheap cards that can get buffed. I mean, we're talking like Mysterio, we're talking about She Devil, we're talking about Squirrel Girl. These are all much more accessible early game pieces that can then
especially
contribute
with
to
Kazar.
other synergies as well. You're getting like a wide base of power, and then you're getting this spike of power, being able to go tall in a single lane, which I think had been a detriment of the zoo decks, not being
Yep.
able to like match something going super tall. And this is a way. This
I
is a way you can
like
do it
I
now,
do like the package of Kitty Pride, Angela, because they both get
right?
buffs
Yeah.
that don't get hit by, well, Kitty Pride gets hit by Kazar, but like Angela doesn't get hit by Kazar, so that's a cool buff. Wolfsbane's interesting as well. It's another thing that gets buffed, so Gilgamesh
Renslayer, baby.
counts that. Yep, Renslayer for stuff like
Bishop.
that. Yeah. So there's some cool ideas with Gilgamesh. I think he's
Sage.
really strong. Here's the problem though. I want a card that creates a new archetype. We have one, but I want more than one a season. Um,
Yes, this one is going to be, this season is very much a revival of old archetypes. So, Zoo getting the love here with Gilgamesh. Clearly, we're going to have a lot of synergy with Surfer, and then we have Arishem as like his own thing.
yeah,
But in the
Athena is
middle,
weird.
Thena.
Did they just
Yes.
hold on? They barely talked about her.
She's
Wow.
she, she's only worth, listen, they did the gag is 2 stars form a constellation that looks like Thena. Like, come on, that was funny. I laughed actually hardest at that little gag right there. But Thena 2/1 after each turn +3 power if you played exactly 2 cards. This is going to probably
Which
be
does
the
count
hardest.
for her. She counts herself.
Yeah, she counts herself. This is going to be one of the harder cards to theory craft on without having her in hand. Um, but I'm gravitating toward this, honestly, this Hope Summers list idea, but more of a silky move kind of deck with
She
Kitty splashed in.
she could be a Sarah control card
Sure.
because like if you playing
Really?
if you play 2/4 costs on the last turn,
Yeah,
that counts.
but
That
then
happens
on
a
turn
lot.
5, I feel like most Sarah decks are going to play 1 card on 5, which is not Thena, and then more than 2 cards on 6, which again is not Thena. I mean, it could still work, but I like the idea of like Angela and Thena, and then Silky move. You play
Yeah.
Kitty plus something, Thena scales, Angela scales. You move stuff around, you do it again, and you keep going. Don't stop till you're numb. And then she could actually get pretty psycho. I mean, listen. So what's the ceiling here? Is the ceiling is you play her on 2, you score her every single turn thereafter, which would be turns 3, 4, 5, 6 multiplied by
That's
3.
12.
Yeah, that's a 213. So that's terrifying. You could also just play her on 3 because you don't miss timing on her power if you play
Yeah,
her plus
her
one
plus
other
a one
card on
drop.
3. So you have a 2-turn window to be able to hit that. Even if you get her just on 5, like if I'm playing her with one other card on 5, she's going to go to 2-4, and then if I do it again on turn 6, she'll hit 2-7, which is respectable.
Yeah.
I like
So
Fina.
I do too. Just
Is she a must get? No. And will she make a new archetype? No. So
no. But then Surfer's getting another card. Probably.
this is this is Festos? Hang
Yeah.
on. Do they not talk about Cersei? Excuse me.
They do the next one.
Oh, okay. So that's slightly out of order.
Yeah.
Because in our cash release, you're actually going to get Cersei next. Festos is a card and a dang half. This was one of the ones that Brad and I said could not release at his stat line with this power. Oh my gosh. Notice what is missing from the text that we always see with a discount. Little parenthetical.
Yeah.
Minimum 1. It's
No
not here.
minimum one.
Your 1-cost cards could be made free or they could be buffed by 2. The idea of a Thanos deck hitting this on curve is terrifying.
Yeah.
Now I know that Thanos took a heavy hit on his rework. This could be a card. It's definitely a card that's going to have me experiment with him. I don't know if that's where Festos ends up being the best. He's obviously very strong Surfer synergy as well. Finally, a 3-cost card that's worth talking about Surfer with, because Surfer loves having discounts to play more buff targets, and it makes multiple use of buffs on a number of different cards. Is this
Yeah.
must-buy territory
I think
for
so.
you? It is
I
for
think
me.
so. I don't
Is
like
it?
that it is because this feels like a card that's going to be nerfed. I just
Yeah.
cannot for the life of
Right.
me think this card is going to be
Its
fine.
base is 3/3. That's why it's so strong. Obviously, if you get it late in the game, it doesn't do much. But this is one of those, like, I feel like Snap has tried to move away from cards like this, where when you play them on curve, you can just snap and
Yep.
bully the opponent completely. But he is definitely, if I play this on curve, I feel like I should snap and just use the bullying effect to as much of an advantage as I can. It might. The really dangerous part is where if I'm able to snap on 2 or before playing him and then reveal him to a insane win percentage, like that's where he has to be nerfed.
Right. No, I agree. I think he's seemingly very pushed.
Yeah.
And if you play him in Surfer, you're probably gonna be playing this one as well. This is just a
Makari
free
was the
card.
other one.
Yeah.
We said this couldn't happen as a 3/3, that she will play herself
So
for free.
Let me say, you said this was your hard opinion that she could not release like this. I was on the fence with this. I
Yeah.
said she's either going to be very good, where like every deck might want to run her because she's just a free
Yes.
card,
It's the
or
knife's
she's
edge.
just like being a 3/3 for free. You lose a card in hand, kind of thing. Like I could see some instances where she's like okay, but not crazy. I did admit this is like this month's Sage for me. She's either
Yeah.
bad or very good. I
Okay.
can't see a world where she's in the middle.
Well, like the middle ground is if she only works in Surfer.
Right. But then
Because then you get all
but
the
then
3
she might
cost
be
synergy.
if she's only good in Surfer, that means she's potentially cuttable.
Surfer has a lot of different toys, but if the lead deck ends up being this Makari list, like it could be something.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing. Free cards are always scary.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean they're guaranteed to see play. We'll see. We'll see with her. Surfer's getting a couple really good toys.
Yeah, Festos and Makari together, that's all the Surfer love that we're seeing. And here we go, Cersei, which if you think about it, Brad, could be a Surfer card as well if you play a bunch of 2 costs and then you Cersei them up. Probably not, but
it's like a Surfer on hard mode, yeah.
Yeah, Surfer on hard mode.
Though this is really cool.
The Void?
With the Void, yeah.
Ah!
Getting an Iron Man out of it. It's like,
Oh,
my
baby,
God.
because it upgrades the cost and then randomizes. This is like it's cool. I'm getting Blink vibes. I don't know why. You're like taking what you have on board that's junk and then you're trying to upgrade it. but she upgrades it into something random rather than a cultivated thing from hand or from deck.
Yeah.
Um,
It's just another tool for stuff like junk, for example. Because like junk has Annihilus, it has Valkyrie to change things, it has Lady Deathstrike, now has another 5 cost that could potentially change the void.
yeah,
Which one is the best one? Um,
Honestly, Cersei might be because you're not just getting rid of him, you're upgrading him. Like Valkyrie, really good as well. I mean, no. Like Annihilus is the best one, but Cersei might be
yeah, Annihilus
second.
is the best one, but
Yeah,
Cersei's
but
close. It's really
if we're
close.
picking second pick, it might be Cersei giving you a 5 cost
Hey,
out of the void.
I've been very vocal about how much I hate debris in junk decks. This
But
actually could
now
make me interested in debris.
you elevate the
I'll
rock to
try
a
it.
random 2 cost card.
Yeah.
Not many 2 costs bite you. Some of Carnage bites. Colleen Wing might bite.
But if
It
the
also
rock is
depends
the
on what.
first thing,
Oh
then
yeah.
that those don't matter, like
Right.
Beast, Carnage, things like that.
Do you think she's going to be better on 5 or better on 6?
It's tough because if you're
And
playing
this
debris,
is
you want to like clear your space earlier. But I think she's better on 5 as like a thing of like, oh, I don't have like a Nihilus, and like it's one of those things like
fair.
if you top deck a Nihilus after playing her on 5, you're not super upset because you honestly made your void just as powerful as sending it
Yeah,
over to their side.
right. It hurts when you go Lady Deathstrike and then you draw Annie and you're like, "Oh, what the heck?"
Yeah.
But this way, you're like, "I'm looking at an Iron Man or I'm looking at what have you." If it's Modoc, I'm
Maybe
sorry.
you hit a Nihilus anyway.
Yeah, the void flips into a Nihilus and then throws something else at them. Like that would be hilarious.
Yeah.
Um, I'm kind of trying to think in the totality of like it's kind of the philosophy of the location. I'm forgetting its name now, but the first card you play transforms into a 6 cost. I
Yeah.
generally try and play there as soon as I can, so I know what I'm dealing with.
Yep.
But there's
And
the other camp.
if you hit Destroyer, like kind of
Yeah,
thing.
that's the other thing. Yeah. So that's
But
kind of an
there's
extra incentive for
but
that
there's
specific line.
is there a Destroyer level card you're worried about in the 5-drop slot?
Modoc.
Ah, you're right.
But yeah, the idea would be that you're playing Cersei. You're showing your opponent as well what your strength is on turn 5 for like potentially a retreat, like less cubes, or
True.
is she packing enough of a punch with these random? But like you have to look at the totality of the stats. Is she packing enough punch to hold her for 6 to have that surprise factor? Oh, I got you.
Yeah, she might be. She's
Yep.
definitely one that I find to be pretty cool, pretty interesting. No deck defining card there, but definitely one of the more interesting ones we've had.
I'm going to call it out now that she's going to work actually very well with Gilgamesh on that Zoo deck, something that's putting down a lot of
Ah, yeah.
bodies. I'm looking at the Mysterio. I can get Mysterio clones up to 3 costs. I can get a very cheap, potentially 5 or 6 cost down in the Mockingbird or the Sasquatch. There's like stuff I'm feeling out with Cersei there as strong synergies, but then I think Junk gonna love her as well. So yeah.
We have Arishem, the deck defining card. This is a new
Yeah, we
archetype.
found it.
At the start of the game, +1 max energy, shuffle 12 random cards into your deck. I know a lot of people think this is a meme because like you're losing
Also,
consistency.
guys, this means sorry, you can Cersei 6 costs into Arishem for guaranteed, and you can Cersei Arishem into death
Whoa,
guaranteed.
time out. Was that the start of the game thing, or is that just part of their whatever?
That's his big bad effect. It's so
And
good.
it's so good.
Oh my gosh. At the start of the game,
Um,
+1 max energy, shuffle 12 random cards into your deck. I'm scared, Brad. Is nuts. Like, okay, so I said that Thanos hitting Gilgamesh, sorry, not Gilgamesh, Festos
mhm.
on 3 might be like snap versus your opponent retreat territory. Arishem hitting Quinjet on 1, I think is snap and you just leave.
Yeah.
Do you ever
Uh,
play like if if I'm Arishem and I snap with a Quinjet on board, do you ever stay? I have +1 max energy and half my deck is discounted. I mean, if you, obviously you could be playing Mobius, If you play Mobius, maybe you stick it out, but otherwise,
You could also get like bad stuff, like you
true.
could just get like Patriot or whatever, kind of things. But look,
Yeah,
I think this card is actually going to be a good deck. It might not
I
be
think it's
tier
gonna be
one.
fun. I think it's
I
gonna be super fun.
I think it's going to be a tier two deck that actually has legs. Like once people figure out the build, I think you play Quinjet. I
Yep.
think you play Loki as like a backup. Like, oh,
Oh yeah.
I drew junk. Let's get rid of it.
Right.
Um, and then you just play like ramp stuff, like big cards, because like half your deck is randomized. So like that means there's a chance that the random stuff is like cheap, that you can still
Yes.
fit in between like your journey to your big stuff that you want to ramp into. And having plus one max, like having plus one max energy for the entirety of the game is such a crazy effect that you cannot overlook this card as a meme. You
Right.
can't.
Ramp was always like, I didn't get my ramp card. Now I flounder. You get it at the beginning of the game.
Right.
Lights out, baby. Oh man, like
And you could play Lockjaw, I guess, in it. I don't know if I would. I'm not
nah,
super big on the Lockjaw thing here.
definitely not. Definitely not. We're
I
cultivating
I
our
don't like the Thanos idea of like it's the biggest deck ever. No, get out of here.
some people are gonna do it, but that is a meme. Um
Hey, but maybe if this deck takes off, then Darkhawk comes back.
it definitely does. And Hawk is like just slightly off meta at the moment. If Thanos with Festos and Arishem with just being Arishem take off, Hawk is looking even better. So I kind of love that. I love that. Um, yeah, very excited for Arishem. I think he's a must grab. Also, I'm really looking at
So these are the new.
Festos. Festos and Arishem I put as much must buys. Um, do we want to talk about the locations here or go back and do like a ranking of the cards?
Let's do a ranking real quick, then we'll do locations.
Sorry, Broad's eyes. Broad's
Let's
given
see.
120% on this video.
So we're doing what, like stars, star rating?
I think like a tier list of like
Oh yeah, S and stuff. Gilgamesh is a S tier for me.
S tier. I'm going A tier, but close.
I think he's incredibly pushed. This is just
He's
like
punchy.
a Devil Dino that's just better.
Devil Dino that doesn't have to have a big hand. He has to have a buffed board.
Athena B tier for me.
I'm gonna go up at yeah, maybe B tier as well. Like deck building's gonna have to be pretty careful. She will, if you want to get the buff, restrict how you play kind of significantly. But overall power, like I mean, we talked about the ceiling is so high. Even if you miss a couple of turns, I'd still be pretty happy. So yeah,
Right. But I think B tier. I think there's
okay,
just other cards that like match her power output pretty
yep,
effectively. So, but we'll see. I'll be happy to be wrong. Another S tier in Fastos.
yes, S for sure. With look at that card back. Let's go. Obviously, like this feels like Mobius might be just coming back to stay if Festos gets big and if Arishem is trying to use Quinjet stuff like this, or if Arishem is also, if Arishem becomes like a Loki Quinjet hybrid deck, like
I was about
the
to ask,
ramp,
do you think this actually can just be a Loki deck or a Loki card?
100%, because then what you draw after you've Loki'd is still real good.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Festos could be any deck.
I agree.
I think he is like plug and play. I want a 3 cost that amps me up. I play Festos.
Yeah, this is just like the super
But
Okoye.
yes, but Okoye was a 2 cost at the time when she was the Super Okoye,
Well, she was
and
a
she
one
didn't
cost
have,
when she was the best.
but she wasn't +2. She was +1.
Yeah, but
The
plus one
plus
on a
two version was
one
a two
cost is crazy.
cost. Okay, we're splitting hairs, but yes, he is the Super Okoye for sure. And that Thanos, if you hit it on curve with Thanos, like it's snap, and the opponent cannot stay.
All right.
Ooh.
This is tough.
Yeah, you're gonna go C tier. Or are you gonna go all the way down in D? Do you think on 3 is unplayable?
I think this is a C tier card.
Ah, I go A tier.
Yeah. I
I've just
I, I
I
think
see it the same way as you. Like it's on a knife's edge of being we play 11 card decks with Makari or it's not really viable.
yeah.
But I'm going on the viable side.
Yeah. I can see it I just think she's going to be like, at best, a black cat for a surfer,
Okay.
and at worst, just a card that we say just doesn't do enough.
Okay.
So that's
Here's
kind of
okay.
where I'm at.
Here's my counterpoint is that like with the rise of what is currently the meta, which is Prof X Cannonball,
Mm-hmm.
tempo matters, and she gives you tempo.
She does give you tempo. You're right. But I also think that Professor X is getting a rework.
Okay. It's
I think
definitely in the
Professor
cards.
X is. I don't want him to. I like
Yeah.
Professor X. I hate that people complain about it.
I,
It's just look. The problem is like last month, like we said, none of the cards did anything to change any of the meta. I don't
I
think
would
that's Professor X's fault.
I would
Play
actually be
War
fine
Machine.
if he got more power to be
Yeah,
outside of
make him a
Renslayer.
5/2.
Yeah, make him the 2.
Because he
So he
went
just
from
doesn't come
3 to
down
1,
early.
and now you
Just so he
just make
doesn't
him
come
2.
down early as often.
Yeah,
Also, I could see points coming off of Cannonball first.
true. I can see that
So,
too.
yeah.
But I think that they're going to go that Glenn said that they have ideas for reworks. They when they originally dropped his power, they said we'll
Okay.
pursue that if we need to, and they already have reworks on the table. So I think he's going to get it, and I will go as far as to say this patch.
It's happening.
I think, and again, so let me say for sure, Teddy, you can acknowledge this as well. This is Sunday. We do get the patches early on occasion, but we have not.
Sunday.
We have not gotten the patches early.
We don't
as
know.
creators yet. I do not know
confirm.
this. Nothing has been said. I'm not ruining the NDA or anything like that. I am saying in my gut, my heart of hearts, I think that this patch we are getting a Professor X rework.
Interesting. So the other things we have pending from Second Dinner are a 4-cost overhaul to follow up on the Zabu change.
Yep. Or a Zabu rework itself.
Or the full Zabu rework to follow up on just the palette cleanser of the nerf there. So that's the other thing that we're looking forward to. Hey, do them both. Why not? Second Dinner.
That'd be great.
It's summer. Go big. Swing big, baby.
So yeah, I think this is just gonna be a C tier card.
Okay.
Next one. What is the next one?
Cersei, right? Is the one they cover?
Yeah.
There's a blip in there. So hard to rank. B tier? Like the randomness.
A tier.
You're going up to A?
She's
think
a
it's
5?
I mean
She's a
5-7.
She's a 5/7.
She's a 5/7 that does something
If she was like a 5/5, I say B tier, but it's hard to ignore. She's
that
a
call out with
5/7.
the void is really hard. I mean, you can have the hood in there as well.
Right.
If you get Widow's Bites, you turn them into something.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and also how
and
many,
those are
like,
all
what one
those
drop
are
is
all
gonna,
meta
like,
cards. If they throw a goblin at you, another meta card, she makes it yours. Like, yeah.
I think A tier. I'm
gonna say A tier on release. She's gonna settle to B.
Okay.
Just because like the meta right now is good. If the meta moves away, she won't be as good.
I think the only thing keeping her from S tier is she's not a 5/8 or a 5/9, and it's a little random.
Well, yeah, I thought mostly on the randomness for me.
If she was a 5/8 or 5/9, I'd really be close to saying S tier. I think she'd be a
stat line is just overpowering.
A definitive A tier at that. But I think she's A.
I'm very much looking forward to her release.
I am as well.
And you guys are going to see some amazing shorts out of her.
This is the tough one. This is so hard because you can't ignore the max energy. Look, we could be safe and say B tier.
Yeah, but why be safe?
But he's either going to be a D tier or an S tier, in my opinion.
I guess he put him up in A.
He could be.
That max energy is a powerhouse, and because like ramp decks turn on in the later game always, like the mid to late game, and then you're guaranteed to have drawn some of it.
Oh, okay. We have to evaluate this in the correct way. We have to. I have to evaluate this as a snap card, not a CCG card.
Okay.
The difference being, this is S tier. Okay. Let me explain.
Okay.
+1 max energy, you cannot ignore. This will get put into a list that is refined and perfectly created. It won't take that long. because
It'll be
it's
called
just the
Hella. Hella ramp.
It might be. And here's the
You
thing.
could double ramp my brethren on turn. There's like a world where on turn 3 you play 6 costs for the rest of the game because you've played Quinjet and you drew random 6 costs and then you played another ramp card.
Corvus on 2, yeah.
Yeah, Corvus on 2.
So the reason this is S tier is because this is going to be a 4 to 8 cube machine. Because when you hit your stuff, you snap, your opponent stays in, and you just win based off the back of just good cards and your energy. And then when you don't hit your stuff, you just leave for a cube.
Or you get a random card the opponent can never predict that gives you an answer.
Exactly. I think this is S tier. I think this is going to be an insane card. Now
you get fed my Legion on the final match, but you didn't have to hide it. It just randomly came around. That's why like Coulson has been an X Factor card for a while.
Or things like Claw, like just stuff that gives like extra reach that they won't expect.
Right. Because Snap is all about playing the odds, snapping and retreating, and he breaks the odds. You can't predict you can try to predict what he has, but it's way more complicated.
And like, I think it's going to be a card like similar to Hella, where it's like it has a pretty mid-tier win rate, around like 52% or so, 51% kind of thing. But its cube gain is going to be like 0.45. 0.5.
Let's see, because on the flip side of it becoming just a Loki Quinjet hybrid deck also sounds like the raw brute force of the deck could be very scary.
Yep, there's that too. Imagine a curve. Like, I know this is really hard to hit, and you're talking about like sunshine, rainbows, and stuff like that, right?
Yep.
Quinjet on 1, and Fatsum or whatever. How do you say his name?
Fastos.
Yeah, Fastos on 2.
Yes. Plus 2 power or -1 energy on everything in the deck, which happens to be a lot of things in the deck. You're definitely playing Crystal in this deck?
You could.
I think Crystal Fastos just sounds fun to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is S tier. I've convinced myself.
There we go.
This is just going to be a cube machine.
Ooh, will Brad's hiatus of Snap break down? Stay tuned, guys. We'll be back next week. We do have these locations. I love them both. World Forge, replace one of the other locations each turn. So just like this slideshow of different effects. And then the Eternal's Arc after turn 5, flood the other location. So it's a Legion trick. Oldest trick in the book.
That's a good one. But yeah, I will probably be back the week after this coming one to Snap. Just want to give myself another little breather and all that. And I think this is going to be a good month for cards. I like a lot of them. Arishem alone, I just wish he was earlier in the season.
Yeah, I understand why he's late though.
I do too. Got to give you.
And then we go into flipping Gwenpool, who seems insane. So things are looking up.
Yeah, and I think maybe like having like Deadpool and Wolverine come out next month might also pique my interest. So,
yep. Oh, bless you.
Thank you. All right. That's going to do it for us. Go to patreon.com/cancelsnap if you want to see these episodes early. YouTube.com/cancelsnap if you want to see the bonus episodes, bonus content, all this stuff. Drop a sub there. All that good stuff. Bonus content. We love you. Appreciate you. And we will see you guys in the next one. Yep. Bye-bye.
Can't Stop Snapping is a podcast hosted and produced by Brad Saffer and Teddy Ninja, originally created by Michael Thurman.